Beautiful, being nice is such a beautiful thing for so many different personalities. It benefits everyone. Like, I just look at the world and realize, like, there can be so much that can just be just a drain or sad or just awful. So, like, if I can be as much as possible a light to people and other people, and just for a split second, just give them just a little bit of that, even no matter like even on someone's worst day, if I can just say, hey, how you doing? Like, genuinely care, and just they can see it through me. Like, I just want others to be lifted up as much as possible and get as much as they possibly can out of this world on any given day. So bold and challenge yourself to do bigger things.
Love that. Welcome to the Perfect 100, the podcast for BNI members who want to maximize their membership, deepen their impact, and grow their business through intentional networking. I'm your host, Tammy Zurak, a CliftonStrengths coach, longtime BNI leader, and one of the few members worldwide to maintain a perfect Power of One score. Each week, we'll explore the habits, mindsets, and everyday strategies of BNI members who are turning their membership into momentum. Hello and welcome back to the Perfect 100. I am so excited to have Andy on the show today. From the first time I met him, I could tell he was a real deal. He's somebody who leads with the heart and brings out the best in everybody around him. He is in my chapter, so this is how I know him so well. He is a smart guy. He's grounded. He seems very driven, but what really sets him apart from everybody else is he really cares about people. He's the kind of guy that doesn't just talk about leadership, he lives it. So I'm excited to have him talk to you today. And here we go. Hey, Andy, how are you?
Hello, I'm great, Tammy. Thank you so much.
Of course. So let's go into your 45 seconds so people will know who you are.
Awesome. So I am Andy Collier with America's Floor Source. I have the flooring seat here. I'm blessed to have that. So I produce and install all types of flooring. So laminate, hardwood, LVP, tile, showers. Primarily, we work with builders and general contractors, but I've been in it so long that I work with all types of people. So if you're in the market for new flooring or any types of that, you just give me a call and I'd be glad to come help you and deliver a mission that is a client experience at the highest level. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. So you have built a strong reputation, as I've just said, as a person that people like to work with. I suspect you have that same kind of feeling at work at where you're at your company. What does your role at your work and in BNI feel like today? Like, what do you enjoy most about what you do in your job or what you do at BNI, or both?
No, great. So my background, strangely enough, has been management. And I've been in operational management for the last 3 companies that I've been with. So I am now in sales and sales only, but where I'm going with that is I always fall back on that management background. And I think too that being within BNI, that I just have a natural ability to seek out and look for opportunity, and I'm very comfortable talking in person. I've been given that gift. So with BNI too, like I've been really blessed to have an educational seat this time around here. I'm really enjoying that very much. A lot of people I can tell have discomfort in getting up there, which I don't. So same thing at work. Although I'm really not in a seat at work any longer where I need to make decisions on a daily basis, but I'm still very integrated into that. And the people above me still come and ask my opinion on a lot of different things in terms of the operation and the business and things like that. Even though, too, we are a corporation now, which we can talk about that later. We were a smaller, just a single store in Memphis. We were purchased out almost about a year ago now. So it's a little bit different in terms of how we work because there's people way above me now, but it's still a good kind of mix of sales and leadership I still get to do.
Awesome. Give us a little flavor because I know what your background is, but obviously not everybody listening does. So give us a little flavor for your background, what you did before you were in the current role that you're in.
So starting very quickly, so I've been in flooring in one way or another since 2005. I moved from Indiana to down here to Tennessee. And immediately just fell into a flooring company. I never touched flooring in my entire life. And the day I came down, the very next day, I was physically on my knees installing floor. I had no idea what I was doing, so I had to really learn on the fly. That was scary. Now, and I don't. I feel bad for the customers back then. Who knows what they got? But no, strangely enough, so um, did that. Had my own little flooring company for about 4 years. That came out 2008. That's kind of when the housing market had the big kind of crash back then, so it wasn't as productive as I liked. I then went to work, and here's where I think everything kind of changed for me, really for the scope of my life, was I went to work for store management at Lowe's at a big box store. Um, that where I say changed everything for me was at one point at one store I was at, I was responsible for 205 people. I mean, not all at once, but I mean, 205 personalities. So that really shifted everything I've ever thought I knew about really learning people and looking at them as their person rather than just an employee. I always said, like, how do you get the best out of somebody at work if you don't know what they're struggling with or dealing with at home? And once they know they trust you and this person really loves me and cares about me, they're gonna do their best for you in a work sense. So Lowe's was great for me, but it was one of the toughest jobs I ever had. From there, I went into a spot where I was an operations manager for a kitchen and bath company here in the Memphis area. Learned a lot there too, as well. And then found myself after COVID into my current role, which is now 6 years at what was Flooring Solutions, now America's Floor Source. Great question. That was good. Love talking
Yeah.
about fast.
Well, it's the context of knowing kind of you've been I think when you anybody in the role that they come into the chapter, you don't know. I always find it interesting that you take people at face value for whatever the seed is. You don't know that they've had a whole life, right? So there's usually a long story. I just met with our commercial realtor in our group for the first time because she's relatively new to the chapter, and she had a very long background that had a lot of ways similar to mine. And so, you get that camaraderie. And I know that's a thing for you is that the first time we met, all you wanted to know was more about me. You didn't, we got to the business stuff later, but that's and we'll talk more about your personality profile later. But I think that there's knowing what kind of came before is always a good thing. And I also want to talk about you had a kind of unique situation coming into the chapter. So there were more than one, it was a highly, it was a challenge to get the seat for flooring in our chapter. There was a battle. So there was more than one person at the time that when you came in that you were kind of going up against, for lack of a better way of putting it. What motivated you to kind of show the group who you are and what you brought? Was there anything behind that you think would be interesting to hear?
So I hope over the course of this conversation, it will come across that I'm not, I'm a very humble person, and I'm learning that the older I get about humility. But I do strive for greatness in anything I do. I think that is one of the gifts that I've been given that some people can look at it as like it's a weakness, but I look at it as a major strength. So there's times that things I do that I don't do them perfectly enough and it haunts me to a fault. But then looking back at it, I wouldn't want to be any other way. So going to your question is, wanted to come across as like, regardless of any circumstance, I'm going to go and do whatever it takes to deliver on our mission and be the best I can be for anyone I come across. And that's not even in terms of business, but you were kind of alluding to it earlier. I've already built some really good personal relationships within the chapter that mean almost more to me than a business relationship at the moment, because I know having that strength and the trust from other people and just I'm already given, like, there's a guy in our chapter, Ronnie Smith. I see him now. The first thing we do is give each other a hug. I've been in the chapter for 7 months now, but I I love that people can see that I do want to do the best for not only myself, but for them and their clients. And I'm glad that shows through.
Yeah, you have, I guess, what it would be considered a contagious positivity. You come in generally, every time I've seen you, at least, I'm sure you have downtimes, which we'll talk about maybe, but you come from a place where people feel good around you. I think is that's just kind of naturally part of your thing. So, was that something naturally for you? Does that happen for you everywhere? You mentioned the Lowe's team, where so that's just kind of your go-to and it's natural, or did that come out of experience?
Well, that's interesting. I'm naturally have that personality that I also too, I love to analyze everything. I love to analyze the world, love to analyze everything. I'm very analytical. Also love that about myself. But so like, I just look at the world and realize like, there can be so much that can just be just a drain or sad or just awful. So like if I can be as much as possible a light to people and other people and just for a split second, just give them just a little bit of that, even no matter like even on someone's worst day, if I can just say, hey, how you doing? Like genuinely care and just they can see it through me. Like I just want others to be lifted up as much as possible and get as much as they possibly can out of this world on any given day. So that's just it's just been in my DNA. And you did say something earlier. So the one thing about I notice about people like myself, if I do have an off day, I've been working on that people don't notice it because someone that can be up all the time, boy, if they're off a little bit, it's very easily recognizable. My boss has told me in the past, which is also one of my best friends in the world, but my boss currently says, listen, he said, you have a zap personality, Andy. He goes, you're either zapping life into people, but you can come in here and you could sap this place. So and I've noticed that. So I've been working on that very diligently, trying to prevent that because I know that's not a healthy avenue for anybody.
Well, it's an interesting thing because we're going to get to your strengths because it's going to show up there, right? But I think that when it's your thing, that people come to you, they recognize it, and it's an interesting point that if you're always that guy, sometimes you can't be that guy, and that's okay, right? Is you're not always it's not normal to always have that upbeat all the time kind of thing. So it's okay to not have that sometimes too. And we you don't feel at least in our chapter, you don't have to feel like you got to support us all with that attitude, although we appreciate it. So you were in a different chapter before. How long were you in before? Because you've been in this chapter for 7 months. How long were you a member before, and what brought you to BNI in the first place?
So I was in another chapter for about a year and a half, and another very good healthy chapter. It was a morning chapter, 7 o'clock in the morning, and like you kind of
Woo!
learned here too. I live kind of way outside Memphis, so that was a challenge in itself. What brought me to BNI though? So another thing, it's funny talking about personality, how I'm like kind of have an uplifting personality. It's also very easy for me to be kind of isolated to myself. I have that strangely enough. So I wanted to force myself a little bit to get out of the box some and to think different. And at that time too as well, I was just really migrating into a sales role. So I needed to really open up chapters and avenue for new revenue to come in. So we've had other members of my company that had been BNI members and had said nothing but good things about BNI. So I decided to try. So that was really what led me there, and I still have relationships out of my first chapter that I still talk to, and we had visitors come visit our chapter, and I get to see them again. So BNI, just the web that BNI lays down nationwide in the relationships that you'll keep and have and grow, and it's amazing. It's a beautiful being nice is such a beautiful thing for so many different personalities. It benefits everyone.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a lot of different things. When you said several things, I had to write them all down so I could remember them all. The being at home thing, I think after COVID, that was big for a lot of people. Was everybody was working from home and we weren't connecting to people anymore. So that even yeah, pivoted right away to go online, which was amazing because we didn't lose our connections to try to do business. But that being at home for a year and being on a screen is just not exactly the same as being in a room and being able to give somebody that you want to give a hug to. You can't really do that. And you also mentioned introvert, what I read or heard as introvert versus introversion, extroversion. You can be, we're going to let the cat out of the bag. You have positivity. I think that's not going to be a surprise to anybody in your top five. But there's a difference between positivity and introversion and extroversion. I don't know. Have you ever done the disc test? I can't remember. I think we talked about it, but I didn't remember if you did that one.
I did. Yep, I've done that before too as well. I have
Okay.
somewhere right close to me because yeah, we did. I did it about a month ago.
You know what? And I didn't mean DISC, I meant, Myers-Briggs, because
I've never
Myers-Briggs
done
is
that. Sorry.
okay, so Myers-Briggs, the first letter, so I'm an ENTJ for anybody listening that knows what that means. E stands for extroversion, and it's a kind of a scale. So if I'm holding a pen in the middle of my face, so E's on one side and, it's a scale of all the way from one end to the other. I sit pretty close to the middle on that, extroversion. I'm still extroverted, but what you said was I need some time to not be, up because that can drain people. If you're too close, and the closer you are to that middle, or if you're into introversion, then you can. Doesn't mean you can't go and talk to people and be excited and all the things. It just takes more out of you. So you need more time to recover, which sounds like maybe that's part of what you're talking about. Yeah. Go ahead. You're gonna say something.
No, it's just too another thing that I really me personally need in BNI. So although I'm in sales and flooring, doing primarily my focus is new construction. So for to explain a little through that very quickly is I have built relationships, but how it comes to me then is I just have builders. I will say, "Hey, Andy, like here's my floor plans," and from there, everything is computerized. There is most times during the week that I can sit behind my desk at my house and never need to leave because I'm so busy doing computer work. So the other thing I really sought out in BNI was I needed to get out. I need to meet people because I'm in a role that I really don't have an opportunity to meet a lot of people, and then we'll talk about that too when we talk about my palms, like with guests. Like it's interesting just because of how my work comes to me.
Life's busy from morning drop offs to weekend ball games. That's why Michelle Wilson State Farm makes protecting your home, car, and life simple. Real people, real service every day. Call Michelle Wilson State Farm. Here's for life's everyday moments: 901-590-1922. Yeah, well, speaking of your poems, let's bring up your Power of One and your poems report now, because that was a good segue. So, so you let's start with the Power of One. So you have a 75 in the green. Congratulations. Your attendance is 10 in the red. 20 points for referrals per week in the green. 5 points in the gray for visitors. 20 points for one-to-ones in the green, and 20 points in the green for CEUs. And then we'll just roll into, we'll look at the Palms report also. So I think we've got about 90 days worth of information there. You've had one absence, which is why your attendance points were a little bit off, and a couple of subs maybe in there. Looks like a couple, two or three. So that, unfortunately, the subs ding you, even though it doesn't ding you a lot, but it does ding you when you're not there. So that's why your attendance went down a little bit. Referrals given inside 2, referrals given outside 19. Referrals received inside 5, referrals received outside 9. Visitors 1, one-to-ones 25. Thank you for closed business 17,000. 037 and 26 CEUs. So, how do you feel about all that?
I mean, I need work. It was especially when I'm on the Perfect 100 podcast. So I mean it. Like you set a very high bar, and it's great to have somebody like you to like know what is possible. Like that's just there's no excuses whatsoever when somebody before you is walking that path. So hats off to you, but no, it gives me something to shoot for that. Yeah. Like if I'm not even too, if I see a 75 and it's green, I'm sorry, that's 25 points away from perfection.
right?
So, to me, honestly, like, that's a red number to me. So, no, I think BNI's reporting is extremely useful, and you just have to get in there, look at it, use it. You have to use what tools are given to you. But that's powerful to see that. I mean, it's right in front of your face. Yes, I need work. I definitely need work.
Well, I think that being green is always a good thing, which is, why I said congratulations. And green is hard enough. Being 100 is, much more, takes much more calculated effort, I guess would be the best way to put that. You have to have a strategy in place, which strategic's my number one. We'll see where yours is.
That's
Um,
fun.
so I think that, and some of us I have high achiever also. So I have I look at those things. I haven't always been 100, full transparency. I've almost always been green. I think maybe one or two, I've fallen into yellow once or twice in my 11, 12 years. But I definitely aspire to always be green. And not just because it's green, and I definitely haven't always been 100. It takes work to get to 100, but I'm just doing it because I'm trying to set myself up for the best possible outcome, right?
I love it.
Yeah. All right. So, since we've alluded to your Clifton strengths more than once, let's go and show everybody what you are. So, from top to bottom, you are number one, also strategic. Number two, positivity, which we already let that out of the bag. Number three, competition. Oh, I forgot. Let me give the definitions for those that maybe they're hearing your episode for the first time. So, strategic is you create alternative ways to proceed. Faced with any given scenario, you can quickly spot the relevant patterns and issues. Positivity is you have contagious enthusiasm, you're upbeat, and can get others excited about what they're going to do. Competition is you measure your progress against the performance of others. You strive to win the first place and revel in contests. Number four is achiever. You work hard and possess a great deal of stamina. You take immense satisfaction in being busy and productive. And number five, belief. You have certain core values that are unchanging, and out of these values emerges a defined purpose for your life. So, when you first got that back, was the first time taking it, how did it feel for you?
And to get the results, I'm like, just dead on target. I mean, it's like me. That's it. I mean, it's me. So it's
Yeah.
was very interesting.
Yeah, and when you read the assessment, so if you haven't heard before, the top 5 are blended for. So when you read the breakdown, then they take into account all the other things that are in your top 5, and so your strategic, even though you and I both have strategic number 1, mine will read and does read differently than yours because it's bolstered by the other things that you're good at. So did you share it with anybody in your family or anybody you work with, and what did they say?
Shared it with my wife, and, she was like, "I wanna take it too." So there's a conversation for another day. But,
Okay.
said, and I think you've met her too, so she's
Yes.
very driven as well. But, yeah, super interesting to get the results and share with her. Just because, especially when somebody they know you, but then to see something at such a high level really identify, it's just it's super enlightening. And then I think I'd like to then may hope we get to discuss this too. The thing that I really would love to understand is like understanding the weaknesses or understanding how I need to lead, act, be differently towards others with other traits as well too. So I think that's where um, I need to keep expanding down this path.
Yeah. But we haven't actually talked about that. I don't think I think I've had a couple of guests that I've shown their full 34. So they got the opportunity to see from kind of top to bottom. Yours is you've only got the top 5. So you can unlock and get the full 34. And then you'll see kind of what falls to the bottom.
Okay.
People like to look at what's at the bottom as their weakness, but it isn't you shouldn't perceive it as a weakness. You should perceive it as it's not my go-to, right? So I don't look at, I can do the things that are at the bottom of my report. I can, easily take into account how am I going to make that happen. I just do it a different way. It's not my natural thing. Like, I don't remember where my positivity is, but it's definitely nowhere near yours. And so, can I be positive? Yes. Am I going to roll out, first thing in the room with the positivity? Depends. Depends on who's in the room. But if I need somebody to rally the crowd in a positive way, I'm going to find you because you're going to be a compliment and bring that to, especially when I say, this is your thing. And I would love your support on that. And you're going to rally because it's your thing, right? It's the thing that you would love to bring. And in a coaching session, that's kind of where we talk about, because I did one yesterday with a gentleman who is he's decided he'd like to go and do something else than what he's doing currently. And he the reason why is his strengths are not being utilized where he's at. He's bored. His strengths are primarily, so there's also in the top 5 you don't get this, but in the full 34 you get different themes, and his themes are in strategic and executing. He has in his top 10 he has equal amounts, and his job is very not challenging in those ways. So people come to him to answer questions because he knows all the answers, but he wants to solve problems. He wants to, dig into something new and figure something out. His number one is analytical. He wants to think about it, come up with options, and then make it happen. And he's not getting that. So he's not being served realize what his strengths are, and it doesn't feel good, right? So when somebody comes to you and you're like, "Hey, I really need help figuring this thing out," and you're like, "Yes, because I've got," strategic is sees things that other people don't see. Strategic is you can't teach it. You just have it. So, when somebody will come to you because you don't have to think about it, somebody tells you all the different things and you immediately just start thinking about what it could be, where we can go, how you can make it happen. So it's really cool. And in fact, in your case, so strategic sees the best path forward. Positivity ensures the process of getting there in a way with others that is motivating, not mechanical. So when these two are together, it's kind of, pretty powerful. So I was curious, how do you use those to keep perspective and motivate others? So especially when you hit a challenge that's pretty hard to overcome.
So I don't think anybody in the group even knows this too. So I coached high school basketball for a couple years, and I stepped away for a couple years, and now I'm back doing it again this year. Is my first season back in 2 years. So this is really seeing those two things kind of come together. This is also with the team that I'm coaching. So I coach which I didn't even know existed. So I'm a child of public schools. I teach a homeschool basketball team. So I
Interesting.
didn't know that was even a thing,
Yeah.
and, till I moved out here to Fayette County. So, especially this year, this has been probably the most challenging set of young men I've seen in 5 years of being at the school. So, um, both these skills are really coming into play. So I even kind of pulled back yesterday because here's what we were really worried about doing. There's so much work that we're focused on in identifying our weak points right now with these boys that I was worried yesterday after practice. I'm like, you know what? We're going to flirt on an edge here of our critique is going to start demoralizing them. So where I'm saying, talk about the positivity aspect of it, even I'm we're trying not to create bad habits, but also trying to do it in a way that the positivity is coming out, even if I know at the moment right now, it's not the outcome I want or the behavior I'm seeing. I'm looking at it for the long road. So I'm even with positivity, I'm looking at um, kind of I'm looking at my first trait in that. Like I'm trying to think of a way to be strategic in how do I be positive to these kids. So when it happens through work too, there's a lot of things like I mean, you know it about me. I have a very powerful personality. I don't try to do it on purpose, but I just do. So I've also had to learn to, like, when I'm very sure about my feelings about something, that I'm able to get it across to the people I'm trying to talk to in a way that I'm kind of getting my way, but they feel good about it. And I'm getting their buy in and their trust on the direction that ultimately will result if we go this way. It's just it's a big dance, quite honestly.
Yeah. Well, in Clifton's strengths, the so if you any group of people, whether it's a team, sports, or it's people that work, you work with, that if you can figure out what people's strengths are, not just like, and if they're basketball, obviously they're going to have unique sports strengths, but there's going to be different people that have different personalities on the team. And if you can allow them to do that thing, then they start to, and everybody expresses their own thing. You're just wrapping your arms around getting them all to work together, because they all, I'm sure if there's a team of people, they all, it's like I half the people in our chapter have taken the assessment. So and I've laid out in a team grid, we have a very equal smattering of people across the 4 different themes, and then all across the different talent, strengths that come up. So when you ask somebody, would you rather work on this or this or this? And they naturally say, oh, I want that. We did that last year. Um, it helped us to grow because we let people shine through the thing that they were great at, right? That they were excited about, versus forcing somebody to go do something that they're not great at. It's much harder to just pushing that rock up the hill, right? Versus, you're bringing people with you. So it's an interesting thing.
Hey,
Um,
I have a very simple Clifton Strengths question for you.
yeah,
Like, if you would, has this, like, if you would take the same person over a period of, in like at 5-year intervals, like at a 5, a 10, a 15, and a 20, do you see a consistent return on a score? Or does, like, new education opportunities come in play, like things like that? Does that change or swing the measure? I'd just be curious what you think about that.
yeah, so I can use myself because I the first time I took it was in 2009. I think I've said, I listened back to some of the episodes. I'm like, I think I said 2005 in one of them, but it's 2009. My top at that point was ideation. Now it's strategic, but my ideation today is number. Let's see, I do have my report here. My ideation today is 8. So and then I took it again in 2015, and they will transpose a little bit potentially, but generally speaking, whatever your top strengths are, usually your top 10, they might shift around. And even the way that they're listed on the assessment, this is mine, the bolded ones are your top 5, and then the rest of them, show. And if for those of you that are just listening and not watching, I'm just showing my full 34 report. The You can, some of them are so close, they list them by alphabetical order. So you may not even be far, they could be like minute differences between those strengths. So if they show up a little differently, that's normal. What they won't typically do is shift like from your top to your bottom, because you kind of have those tendencies. You can probably look back when you were a kid and see, yep, I was this way back then, and here's how that played out back then. You were either a leader or you were a whatever. I met with somebody yesterday who said they always end up in a leadership role, and that was me. As I kind of, wherever I'm at, I tend to end up there because it's just what I have command in my top 5, and self-assurance, and so those things just naturally push me to be okay with, I can take the reins and move people forward. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. That was a great answer. I was very
Okay,
curious.
perfect. So you also have competition and achiever. Both of those are, it's drive and progress. So how do you balance your desire to win with your desire to lift people up?
Hmm. So again, the older I get, I just yes, I'll always be competitive by nature, but some other things have changed in my life too as well, that I realize, like, it is an internal struggle. Winning winning is everything, but then winning is also not everything. And I'm starting to get more joy in my life seeing others around me that are growing and gaining from me, or learning things from me, or even too, like, I used to not want to share certain things that I did or built or created or processes I put together. And now the older I got, I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you not want somebody to even take something you've done and try to make it greater than you? Like that's just an honor to you. And then too, like, if somebody has the same strengths as me, like, I would want them to not just settle to be good, like go be great. And that gives me joy now to see that, not be so selfish or resist the competition that I'm in the fight for too. So this I just think with me, this age has really began to change some of my mindset and my
Yeah.
philosophies and what I want to give and see back from others.
Right, well, and you have belief in your is now your well, I don't know if what it would have been before, but beliefs in your top 5, so that can the stronger belief is and I know you've mentioned core values before in the chapter, so that core value bit can be influencing those other things for you that will change maybe your mindset of competitions, like, I pull up to the stoplight with you and you're looking at me, I'm looking at you, and I'm going to beat you off the line. But the older we get, that the less that matters, right? And if you have a belief in certain core values, that's probably influencing some of those other things in the way that you just said. So, all right. So you're not the business owner, but from what I've heard, you're a connector and trusted advisor in your company. So how do you bridge? How do you see your role as a bridge between clients, coworkers, and community?
Yeah. So I actually purposefully kind of took a step back like about a month ago because I was realizing, like, I am so embedded, and I have the trust of really everybody within the local company. So I was here, I just would I would I feel like a lot of people maybe within the company would tell me things because they knew where it was going to go and just get results in not such a direct way. So um I don't mind that though. I'll tell you what I really will go to bat for is if I'm hearing things or seeing things that I know are counterproductive to our mission. And speaking about the mission, so like we have our Tuesday meeting that is dead set. We never miss it. In the first 5 minutes of our meeting, we talk about the mission and we talk about the core values. Like, in everybody within our organization, from at any point, if anybody says, "Hey, what's our mission? What's the core values?" They memorize them, they know them, we live them, and that drives our business. And also, our core values have really, and having a mission, have really kind of married into my life, because there's certain things now I act on that reflect on our core values, which, so we have, I'll just name them real quick, is above the line. We have one called flexibility within a framework, service, and I mean right now. Then we have continuous improvement, one for all, do the right thing, and extreme ownership. The core of that right there, I really use it in my own life. So when I see things within the organization or within and I'm gonna call them friends, my coworkers are my friends. We're a very tight knit group of people. When I see things that I know are absolutely not beneficial to the growth of our business, then yeah, even in my sales seat, I'll go up top and be like, listen, here's what we got to do. We also do another thing in our company too, Tammy, that is called IDS. We identify, I do it in my own life. We discuss it and you solve it. And if you just have IDS as a mentality at home, in your marriage, for your kids, for your work, for whatever it is so successful and so fruitful.
That. Yeah, it's so I interviewed Ivan Meisner on the podcast last week and he said something very similar. So if you haven't listened to it yet, you might want to go because you're aligning with some of the things he said. Um, you live it seems like the idea that your attitude kind of shapes how things will go. So what daily choices do you make that help you protect your mindset?
So I believe you really got to be careful on what you intake. So one thing that's not in my score though, but like the older I got to, I realized is like my reading comprehension Like, it's awful, and the older I get, I don't have it. So I gotta intake a lot of my information, audibly, so I try to listen to books, um, but for me, like, I get up, I've been trying to walk, more lately, getting fresh air. That's been very helpful, especially again, the older I get. I just the one thing that I really that not only drives me, but just gives me so much life is just my kids. So, I have a 4 and a 6-year-old.
Staying ahead in a world driven by technology is key. At Wisdom Integrators, we don't just solve problems, we create opportunities. Wisdom Integrators, connecting your world, solving your problems.
It's just, so m if I would've had my kids at a younger point in my life, like, I would've made terrible mistakes and, like, they probably wouldn't have been in my life, and where I'm saying my kids talking about Tam, I know this will resonate because you understand my strengths, like, pouring out so much into people, which I love to do, but it's very easily not to have your cup refilled if you're not smart. My kids, for me, completely refill my cup, like, and just hugging my son and, like, just holding him and just having those moments, like, there is nothing in my life that's more rewarding to have those kids and have a solid family that I get to come home to every day and be with and share moments with. That's like that is just the world to me. Like, I get so much from them.
That's amazing. Having a full cup is always, the thing we're all looking for, right? It's hard to kind of serve anybody else from an empty cup. So
That's right.
that's amazing. So if you were to give somebody new in BNI advice, maybe they're like you, they're not a business owner, they work for someone else, but they want to make an impact. What would you tell them?
Be bold. And when I say be bold is you're not going to be successful unless you do things differently. And if you are an introvert, which it sounds strange enough, I really kind of am. So like I have to force myself to go and have conversations and do things like that. So get as many personal relationships as you can gain, be honest with people, be trusting with people. Um that's the biggest thing. And two, if you have the other thing too, I think BNI is great for if you do have issues, public speaking or things like that, it really helps you overcome that. You're forced into it, which is a healthy, good thing. So just be yourself, but be bold and challenge yourself to do bigger things.
Love that. Yeah, I mean, that's good for everybody, right? So if you think about the future, whether it's your career, your network in BNI, what excites you the most about what kind of impact you want to make?
Um, I'm excited every day. To me, even no matter how much. Like today, like I'll be honest, like I had all intentions to be at BNI like about 15 minutes early, and the world threw me something different. So no matter how much I can plan and prepare, like I'm always going to have something different every single day. And I love that. But in terms of um just what the world holds for me, I want very simple. I want to be the best version of myself every day. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to do.
Sounds like a good aspiration. All right. So I typically at this point would ask you from the previous episodes, what I was doing was asking the guests before you to leave a question for you to answer. I'm going to switch it up a little bit this time. So I am going to do a quick fire series of questions to get to know you a little bit more behind the business. Are you ready?
Go for it.
All right. So we're just going to do a couple minutes, so short answers. So, first one is if BNI had a Hall of Fame for members, what would you want to be remembered for?
Just being just being open and friendly, just, being the most, I guess being the most uplifting person, in BNI history.
Okay. All right. And then what's one thing that people are surprised to learn about you outside of business?
I am a voice extra, in a few different video games, more like flight simulation games. So yeah, my voice has been used for 3 different series of video games. That's something nobody knows.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting one. We'll talk about all these later. If your chapter had a theme song that played when you walked in the room or up for your feature presentation, what would it be?
Do Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith.
Okay, I can see that. All right. What's your go-to routine before a big presentation or meeting?
Don't have one. Like I've been what we talked about it. I have that gift that I don't have any fear. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, I just don't have any fear.
Okay, that's cool. You're you. That's good. If you were planning the perfect Saturday, what's the first thing on the agenda?
My goodness, sleep in. So that's the very first thing, sleep, and I never get to do that. So
Okay.
that would be it.
All right. And who's been a key mentor or influence in your life, and what's one thing they taught you you'll never forget?
I spoke about it last week. My I didn't have the best father figure growing up, so I had this high school coach in basketball who took me under his wing. I still talk to him to this day. Um, what I mean, he taught me I'm the man I am today because strictly because of him. He just taught me that toughness perseveres.
Okay. And what's one small daily habit that makes a big difference in your mindset or energy?
Being
Okay.
physical activity that
All right.
really makes me healthy in the mind.
All right. And you're a positivity guy. So what's one thing that never fails to make you laugh?
I like I like comedies. Like I like comedy. So if I'm really in a spot, there's a show. It's not the best language, but I love a show called Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Ah, I've watched that.
A great show.
I get it. All right. And the last one is finish this sentence. Success to me looks like
Tammy, that's a good one. Sorry, I know it's rapid fire. Suc- Success to me looks like others around me in my close proximity are also seeing major success.
love that. Yeah, that would be mine too. All right. Well, thank you so much for being
This was
here.
so fun.
Awesome, and sharing all your positive energy with us. I know you making a big impact on the people around you, so we appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you for being here.
No, thank you, Tammy. Everything you do, you're such a good mentor and leader for our group and our team, and just you're always so willing to just jump in and say you give a lot of positivity too. But just to be able, I just see so many people that you impact, and then within your business, and like we talked about earlier, helping others to succeed and seeing that success and seeing what those people can do when they reach others. I'm very glad I got to meet you in life, and I hope you all the success too.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. So, thank you also to our listeners. If you haven't, I already mentioned it once, but check out Ivan Meisner's episode was last week. So this one was as amazing as that one, and that one, if you're a BNI member, you'll hear some new information you haven't heard. And if this episode inspired you, please head to theperfect100.com to discover your own Clifton strengths. And if you're interested in knowing more about how that works in your own life, you can talk to me more about coaching for that. And before you go, do that thing, subscribe, make some comments, like it, share it, all the fun stuff, and give yourself a CEU if you are a BNI member, because guess what? You just listened to almost an hour of information. So thank you, and we'll see you next time on The Perfect 100. Thanks for listening to The Perfect 100. If today's episode sparked a new idea or inspired you to show up differently in your chapter, share it with your team, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you're curious about your own Clifton strengths and how to bring out the best in yourself or your chapter or your business, head to TammyZurak.com to learn more about building your superpowers into everything you do. Keep showing up, keep connecting, and keep building your perfect 100.